It's How I Make Money with Andy Beadle. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us. This is How I Make Money. I'm your host, Andy Beadle. Our guest this week is Marta Samson. She is based in Essex in the United Kingdom. So we're just killing it with our international guests here. We've had Scotland and Canada and now the UK, so it's very exciting. I'm really excited about it. Marta is a business coach and a podcast host. You can find her. Your website is under construction now, right?
Yes, it is.
All right. So what would you say? In a couple of weeks, we'll have it. So hopefully by the time this episode airs, we'll be able to put that in the show notes. And you can find her on Instagram at Marta, Marta .Samson, Samson. At Instagram, she's very active there. And you'll also find her on Facebook. Her profile ID is Martans, Martin S, or Marta NS, whichever you prefer. So we'll get right to it. Oh, and her podcast is called The Thriveprenuer, and you can find that. I found it on Apple Podcasts really easily just by searching Marta's name. So you'll find that. And you're on episode 52, so that's exciting. You've got some great stuff there about mindset and business leadership and how to manage social media and all of that. So it's very exciting to have you here. So let's get it started. Tell us a little bit about what you do and how you kind of came to doing it. And you're also multilingual, so that's an exciting, like that's a thing that, you see that in businesses, and in the U.S. it's less common just because of who we are. But it's really great to be able to serve multiple communities and to kind of have that perspective. So I'd love to hear a little bit about your journey and how you wound up doing what you do.
Yes, so thank you, Andy. It's a pleasure to be on your show. So I'm originally from Brazil. I immigrated in UK. So I'm a Brazilian, I'm a Portuguese speaker. Some people get confused. I'm a French speaker. Now I don't speak French. I wish. Probably the strong accent there, but so it has been a journey leaving Brazil to come to immigrate in UK without knowing to speak English, and with the passion and dream to speak English, because that's where I was growing up. And then I set myself that one day I would speak that language. I would hear all the movies and American subtitle, and then I would hate it because I want to understand what people was actually saying.
I love it.
So it has been great to live in UK, bigger opportunity. It started from the bottom, coming to UK without speaking English. I had to build my career in corporate. Get a little bit tired, and then I decided to do a little personal development. Thank for the American people, because you guys are number one in personal development. I learned so much. I'm very passionate.
The American audience has an insatiable appetite for personal development. That's true. That's very true.
You guys are amazing. If I could afford, I would do all my study in US. I did my study here. I learned so much. And then I decided to combine the passion with the work I do. So I started to do part-time in corporate and decided to help people with the personal development after I graduated. Podcast was a journey for me, because as you probably know, to learn a second language, you have to come in a circle of people. You hear 90% and then you don't speak.
Right.
So podcast I used to listen podcasts all day long. And then one day I said, I want to figure out how I can actually learn how to put a show. And as I been following Pat Flint and all the big names out there, and I just have to sign for someone to just show me exactly what you guys do that make this radio podcast these days. And I decided to do, and that's the way I probably be branding myself. The podcast has been amazing for myself to branding, to direct my business with more clarity. I've been amazing about how many people I met, how many people have been collaborating. And that's been the journey, doing one thing until figure out what's the next one. That's
Right.
being the transition, figuring out what you have to do next. And I'm excited for what I'm going to be doing next, because I want to do something more.
Sure. Well, you work with clients now. Tell us a little bit. How do you serve clients, and what areas do you help them?
So mainly, my platform is mainly women. Seem to be a
Mm-hmm.
lot of guys coming now, but the majority is women. It's women who incorporate. They wanted to set their business, or the women who will set up the business, but they are overwhelmed because they have a family, they have a child,
Right. Yeah.
they have so many things to do, and then they don't know what I'm gonna do. I have to be on social media, I have to write a blog, I have to
Mm.
develop it myself, and then they feel overwhelmed. That's why I get to my clients, because I'm a mom, I'm a wife, and then I am in this journey as a business. So
Sure.
you just have to balance. I use like what I learned in personal development with the wheel of life, how you can balance your life and how you
Mm-hmm.
can just balance the areas. So I serve a client one to one. And then I also have a program which called Smart Woman. It's a 4 weeks coaching program where women have to come with their passion to develop it themselves and and launch a program, have a clarity what exactly they gonna have to do, because otherwise they keep it
Right.
going circle. I
Yeah.
done this at the beginning myself. I was going circle, not generate anything. So that's what I have been exciting, with the passion of being helping women to figure out what do you want to be doing with this
Right.
business.
Well, and I think starting a program like that and saying to somebody, "Hey, we're going to do a lot of work in 4 weeks," right? It's going to be very intense. So when you come, you have to really have an intention to make a lot of progress fast, which is going to be uncomfortable, right?
Mm, sure.
And you have to have clarity about what you want to accomplish. And I think that's very challenging in business, regardless of whether or not you have responsibilities outside of that, because things pull you in so many different directions when you're starting a business, in addition to having a family and being part of a community and all of that. So I think requiring people to have that focus for that 4 weeks is really, really important. How many people do you work with? Like, how big is that group when you do that
It's a kind
course?
of it's a small group.
Okay.
It's not a big group, because
Mm-hmm.
it's only for 4 weeks. And then I would like to do this, have all the videos, everything in there, have like the system. I
Right.
don't have the system at the moment. What I do in a Facebook group. It's a closed
Mm-hmm.
group. So the biggest group I had was about 15 people,
Oh wow.
but
Okay.
mainly it's about 7, 10, 12.
Right.
So I think if I keep it doing what I'm doing and put it like a system with all the videos, with everything, I would do this with the landing page and with you understand the branding, and then probably I would do something more keeping up running, and then I would
Sure.
just come in to do like one live or one big things, and then
Mm-hmm.
that's what I would love to do. But at the moment, it's require me to be focused every week. I deliver something. I have all the content, but I needed to keep it like focusing on helping
Right.
then to just achieve, because sometimes people, even if it's only 4 weeks, sometimes people paying for this and people give up.
Right. Right. Yeah, it's surprising to me. And again, I think that's very there's a lot of challenge there when you're consulting with people, because you really have to
Mm,
make people commit
mm,
to these programs, because if you don't charge them or something like that, they get 2 weeks into it, like, oh, I'm busy, oh, I don't want to go, oh, it wasn't that much money anyway, and then they say things like, oh, it doesn't work, and again, we had a gentleman on the podcast who lives in Texas, and he immigrated from South Africa as a teenager, and came, literally with the clothes on his back and a backpack, and and it was funny. He and I were talking about, just listening to people say, "Oh, it's too hard. I can't do it." And you think, wow, I uprooted my entire life and moved, and I didn't speak, and I started from the bottom. What do you mean it's too hard? How do you not be? How can you not do this for 3 weeks, 4 weeks? So I completely understand that. That makes a lot of sense. So when you're working with people and helping them, I think this idea of balance is so important, and more. I'm 53. When I was younger, very much the stereotype was starting to change in the 80s. More and more women were entering positions of real power and authority, in the workforce, and that has just accelerated. And now I think, my wife is a financial advisor, and she works with a number of business clients where the businesses are owned by women. She specializes in that. And, it's a whole new set of things that pull on your time as a woman coming into the workforce, right? I mean, it's always been, oh, you're a dad and a husband, but that was real different than women who were coming to work. Then they got to go home and do that whole job too. Yeah. How do you help women, and I know you help women and men, but how do you help women in particular navigate that entry into starting a business and running a business while also managing all the rest of their lives,
It's just mainly get that clarity when you ask people, you want to be doing something, but what can you do? How much time do you have available? Because sometimes women, they want to do so much a thing. I say the guys, means a little different. You guys are more focused and more strategically. They want to be on Facebook. They want to be in Twitter. They want to do TikTok. They want to do mainly things. Just choose one thing. If you could win, what could you do for this week? Forget about everything, just one thing. Sometimes I found it hard for people to choose, because even when we are pushing a client to make a decision, they wanted to stick with their own intuition. They needed to do this, this, and that. But when you starting to going a little bit deeper, how they going to be going to one place to another, that's where people started to say, I got it, what are you saying? If you just focus in one thing for 4 weeks, what would you like to focus? Because some of them, it's all different. As the group is personal development, look in your market, look your money, because there's a lot of women, they keep investing in the business and they keep it like a hobby. They don't get one single client. I had the people that was investing money and they don't have one single client. I said, how could you do that?
Right. Yeah.
My husband supporting me. I said, that's okay. But if you really want to be telling people you are in business, you need to exchange something. There is a currency here.
That's so true.
So it's hard, but I keep it like a little bit direct, but in a sensible way. Like, if you don't have a balance, what do you want to achieve to be in the entrepreneur road? Because there's so many things that. What do you really want to achieve? Do you want to just achieve the likes on Facebook, the likes on Instagram, or do you want to achieve you can actually help one single person to achieve something?
Yeah. Well, and we get that all the time where people will come with whatever the shiny new thing is and say, oh, we need to do this. And our answer is always, you do whatever you want. But if you're not making money, like you said, it's a hobby. Right. And that's okay. Hobbies are great. Nothing the matter with a hobby, but you can't, it's really hard to feed your family on a hobby that doesn't make money. At least in our experience, that's very challenging. And I think a lot of people do that because they're afraid. I think there's a lot of, and justifiable fear when you start a business. It's scary, right? You're responsible for everything. So it's exciting on the one hand, and yet on the other hand, it's terrifying because there are all these factors that come into play, and you're worried, well, maybe I'm not good enough, or if people don't buy what I have, that means they don't like me. And we see this all the time where people endlessly work on the little details of whatever their project or offering is. And we always say, In fact, we've got a whole course on helping people take their side hustle and make it a business. And we always say, start with what we call your minimum viable product, the smallest, easiest way you can help somebody, and then fit it to the market. Just because they don't buy it the way you first put it together doesn't mean they won't buy it, but you can't endlessly think about it and worry about it because you're scared. You have to ask people yes or no and be just as happy when they say yes as when they say no. Right? It's a very tough mindset to get into. And I think obviously, listening to your story, you are not afraid of hardship, and you're not afraid of things being different, right? I mean, hey, yeah, sure, bring it on, right? So yeah, tell me when you left Brazil to come to the UK, what was what was kind of your driving force there? Was it you were looking for a change, or looking for different kinds of circumstances for your business life, or what brought you to make such a big change?
For me, it was a new life. At that time, I was in a relationship. I had my daughter. We wanted to get out of Brazil. I don't know if you ever visit Brazil. Brazil is a beautiful country. Many things really good, but
Right.
it was hard. It's hard. It's really hard things in Brazil. For me, for my family, was very hard. It was not easy growing up
Sure.
in Brazil. And then I said, if I don't do what I have to do now for a better future for myself and for my child, I'm not going to, probably I'm just going to leave. I'm going to accept,
Right.
just to stay there.
Yep.
So good to have a friend that was living in UK, and then my friend helped me, with the accommodation, find the school and all this kind of things.
Right.
But it was hard. The driving force was a new life, learn the language.
Sure.
it was unbelievable. You get in a place that you can't speak the language. I said, like, oh my God, if I was older, probably I would give up. But I was in my late 20s, and then I said, I can do that. It was unbelievable. And
Right.
also it started all over again, because in Brazil I was working in the IT department for a law firm. So I had a good job in Brazil, although Brazil had so much a problem, but I was in a comfortable job. I had my family, I had a house and everything, but I want more. It's like the driving force. When you want more for your life,
Sure.
you got to take a risk. If I
Right.
didn't take the risk, probably I wouldn't had my daughter. She's in law in UK. She's a quantity surveyor. She's only 27 years old. She's doing successful. She's, yeah. And then when I look back, I'll see like things I done, and I see my child also being succeeded in a country where she came in when she was 5 years old.
Right.
It's a really rewarding, but it was not easy. And then culture, I would say, like, I cried so much in
I
here
bet.
because I couldn't make a friends.
Right. Oh, I hear you. Yeah, it's real different. So I have to say, having been born in the United States and being a speaker of American English and having traveled quite a bit in Britain, wow, you had a lot to take on. because there are many areas of Britain where I've got to I got to strain really hard to hear. But I think one thing that when I speak to people who have immigrated, and I speak to a lot of entrepreneurs who have immigrated from Vietnam, or they've immigrated, within the EU, or so on and so forth, in a way, that moment where they decide to seek a new life really is almost their first entrepreneurial moment, right? Because you're taking this big risk because the reward is huge, and yet everything is new. You don't know what you're going to do, right? I mean, to learn a new language is a project, and the people who can learn 6 or 7 of them, I'm always amazed by. And to do that, it's so talking to the people who are in that position, hearing their stories, there's that commonality of just that drive that says, I want something different for my family. I want something different for my life and my family. And that's what every entrepreneur does, right? I mean, when you start a business, you see an opportunity, you think that opportunity is going to help serve you as you serve other people. And I think it's a really powerful, you have to have that motivation because, man, being in business for yourself is hard work. And you don't have anybody telling you, oh, you did a great job today. Good job. Way to go. You know, you don't have any of that. It can be really lonely. You've got friends and family who don't understand. You know, it's 2:00 in the morning. Why are you? Well, I just had this thing I got to go right now, you know, or what have you, you know. But on the other hand, it's this is a little off the topic of what we usually talk about, but at least on the other hand, to my mind, it's a really great example to set for your children, especially if you can work that balance out between the business and those relationships, because I think everybody should know by now, especially after what COVID did to the world economy, nobody's job is safe. You know, nobody's business is safe. And if you don't have at least some experience in dealing with that kind of adversity and realizing you're strong enough to get through it, those circumstances get really scary for people. You know, I imagine that you are getting a lot of inquiries these days as the UK vaccine rollout. I mean, so slowly the UK, I think, is starting to open up a little bit more again. Yes. And are you seeing a lot of people starting new businesses and getting in touch? Has that sort of been your experience?
I think a lot of new people now is just they're getting back. I saw like with the COVID last year, a lot of people pausing.
Right.
They were just, oh no, I'm not going to be doing this. So now people are coming back. What can I do to succeed on this? Because it's hard out there. Jobs, it requires so much skills.
Right.
Yes, I've been doing some research, and then it's just like, oh my gosh, they're asking for so many things, and then how people going to get back and to succeed in corporate, they're asking for a lot of skills. If you don't know how to do it, you're not going to get a good job. And the entrepreneur is just everyone want to be online.
Right.
But yeah, everyone want to be online. Technology is the thing. Everyone wanted to do a podcast. Everyone wants to talk about something. But what exactly will be the big picture for this? Are you starting this? But what do you want? What are you aiming for? You just started because everybody started, or you just started because this is going to be a part of your business, a part of some clarity, the transition, because the COVID. A lot of people are. I come back. I am in a few groups, mainly women's group. Some people asking questions. Oh, I saw that someone is on where the club. What was the new one? It's
Clubhouse.
Yeah, Clubhouse.
Yeah, Clubhouse.
I'm not even Clubhouse. And then they want to start a Clubhouse. Or someone has just started a Clubhouse, and then they have a lot of followers. And then this kind of thing about follow. It's not about the followers, because what exactly you want to be doing? What exactly you want to be? You already are something else which has not worked. Can you just sit down and pause and reflect and check? No, you want to do now. It's Clubhouse. I'm not on Clubhouse. Probably, I don't know if I'm going to, but I'm just pausing, doing the podcast, really writing, aiming for something else I want to launch. Just have more clarity to generate revenue. And then lifestyle is a freedom. I don't want to be, I love the coaching, but I don't want to be doing this 7 days in a week. I like to walk in. I like the well-being. I want to enjoy my family. I love helping people, but I need a balance as well. I need to recharge my energy.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. And Clubhouse is an interesting platform. I've been on there for a while, and I listened to a lot of it when I first started. And it's a funny popularity contest. Right. I mean, it's kind of like, to be honest with you, it's kind of like high school, and everybody wants to be one of the cool kids, and then everybody watches the cool kids. And I know that some people are making some decent revenue. I think mostly coaching people how to use Clubhouse, but but I'm not sure what else is happening on the platform. But that's the thing with technology, where a new tool comes out, and you think, oh man, if I had been on Twitter, or if I had done that, it's, you never know. Give it time. And if your business is about those platforms, that's one thing, right? If you're a social media agency and that's all you do, you need to know all of that stuff. Yeah. But if you own a roofing and siding business, or a landscaping business, or you cut people's hair, or any of that, I think picking just a few of those platforms and focusing and building your audience by actually serving people is probably a better move than spending all of your time listening to somebody on Clubhouse talk about how great Clubhouse is. So that might be a little bit of a difference. So what do you have coming up this year in your business? I know you're redoing the website. You're working on some other assets. Do you have any other projects in the work? And what kind of a team do you have supporting you? Are you solo, or do you have other folks who help provide services to your clients?
I'm solo. I pay people to do a couple of things for me with the podcast and editing of the website. Just mainly like hiring in small hours. I don't hire someone to stay like the whole month. I just check in it, see how many hours I would need someone to help me this month with the things I wanted to accomplish, and then I'll pay, and then I'll go. So social media is something probably I needed to focus in more, having people helping me, because it requires so much attention, so much engagement, and it's just like unbelievable. I can't do the time. But I'm working at the moment looking with the things I really like with the podcast. I know with the podcast, I want to do something more. I want to become a better podcaster.
Mm-hmm. So do we all.
Better podcaster, because when you speak English as a second language, you always are learning something. I want to get on the mic and be able to just express myself, and then just asking, doing like an amazing interview with people. I'm working on behind the scene for that, and then I would love it to put a course that I can help people not to be shy on the microphone because you are a second language. You speak English as your second language.
Sure.
I'm working on that. Hopefully, I would say, I don't know, if I'm going to launch something, a digital course, I would say probably by December this year, because I don't want to overwhelm me. As a coach, I know I've been in some seminars, I've been in some mastermind, and then we put ourselves, you got to tell now the date, and then you put that date in your diary. But I'm gonna have the anxiety of me. My house is burning, and then my husband wants me to cook food, my child wants me to go out, and then I have this big project, and then I said, no, now I want to do a course, but I'm working on the right content, because content is the killer.
Oh yeah,
so
sure.
It's going to be priceless. So if I don't have the right content, I'm not going to generate what I want. So I'm working on the content, but first of all, I'm working on my speech, on the way I'm going to be interviewing people. There's some things that I don't want to make perfect, but I think I could do better. This is my own development as a podcaster.
Right. Well, and you meet people. I have a friend in town who's German, and I knew that he was not born in the U.S., but darned if I could tell you. I mean, his accent is so light. I mean, you can only hear it every side, and you go, oh, and I think to myself, gosh, I speak a few languages really badly, and always feel bad for anybody who's got to listen to me in anything other than English. So that's a lifelong journey, right? Learning and getting into another language, and that's a whole new way of thinking and hearing and speaking and all that. And it's fun, and I honestly wish we had a bigger focus on that in the United States, because we're becoming a multilingual society. We have a huge Spanish-speaking population. We're growing. Our Chinese population's growing. So many people from Brazil, from Africa, and you hear these languages around, and you think, oh, how fun would it be to be able to speak that? But it's a lot of work. I mean, it is a lot of work. And I totally understand. And it's hard, man. When you decide to do a podcast, listening is so much easier than speaking. And so, yeah, there you're biting off a big chunk there. Oh my goodness. Yeah. Well, so we build all this up to 2 big questions at the end of the podcast. So no pressure, but they're the most important questions for this whole time. And you just have to answer off the cuff. So we'll see what you got. The first one is this. If you could give anybody a piece of advice as they're just starting out, and you work with a lot of early stage entrepreneurs, people who are just beginning their business, I know. If you could give them one piece of advice, regardless of what area their business is in, what would that piece of advice be?
Have a clarity on the goal. What do they want to achieve? Yes.
Clarity on what you want. I like that. Yeah. I think that's super important. And when you're working with people, how do you describe, like, what does clarity mean when they kind of say, oh, here's what I want? Because if they kind of, oh, I just want to be rich, that to me, that's not clarity. Or I want to have a good business, that's not clarity either, right? So when you're coaching people on how to get that clarity, what are the kinds of things you're telling them that they need to do and think about and really get down to the details on?
So first of all, asking them, why do you want to start a business?
Mm-hmm.
So this idea of a business coming from you want to do the business because of what? And then people start to talking. Sometimes because they're not happy with their job or those kind of thing. But when they put it down on a paper, the skills and what skills are you going to bring? How are you helping people?
Mm-hmm.
Are you okay? Be meeting people, because there are a lot of people, they want to be in business, but they don't like to meet people. How are you going to get a customer?
Right. Yeah. I love to be, I just don't like people.
Business, but I don't want to help people.
Okay. Yeah. Right.
So it's just like sometimes, and this journey is not even like starting a business. It's just like the fulfillment of to do something, to sell something. It could be just like have a small product that you can just be representing that company. It's not like to start something from scratch.
Yep. Well, and I think people start a business and having an idea of their why is really, really important. We had a guest on a few weeks ago who had sold Yellow Pages advertising. And you think, wow, I haven't seen the Yellow Pages in years, since I was a kid. And, he had sold that, and then that whole industry obviously started to die. And he looked around and said, well, I understand how to get businesses exposure, and I need to feed my family. So I'm going to go start my own business helping people with their websites and having their websites do better on search engines. And I thought, wow, that why is very simple, but he knew exactly what it was. It was, my industry's dying. I want to take the experience I have, and I don't want to rely on somebody else for a job because I want to take care of my family. And you look at it, you go, that's perfect. Like, you can get up every day and reorient yourself to that. And I think having that why gives you amazing clarity. And again, something else you've said too, having that why helps you, I think, judge whether what you are doing is successful in your own mind, right? I mean, it's like, oh, well, I've invested tens of thousands of dollars. I haven't sold any product. Well, if you're planning on feeding your family, that's not going to work. Right. So I think, I think that's a good piece of advice, and getting clarity on why you want to do something is good. When people are starting out, how do you encourage them to get clear on the specific things they want to accomplish in their business? I like the idea where you say, hey, just focus on one thing. What are some of the other ways that you help people clarify what they want from their business?
Looking back, what they done previously,
Mm-hmm.
like when they was growing up, when they was in school, college, because we keep and forget what we done that we felt really happy, and then we felt like it's coming easy.
Right.
Like what you said,
Yep.
from the guy on the yellow pages. So he was selling ads and he understand about traffic, and then he
Right.
done something. Sometimes people they forget some of the skills they have. They could bring on
Mm-hmm.
to this new era and then do something, because it's not like you just come and do something and then you're going to learn the whole thing. Then
Right.
people sometimes they go, no, I want to become a coach, and then they're going to do personal development, NLP, blah blah blah, and
Right.
then they end up, it's not exactly, I see people doing that, that's not exactly what they want to be doing. Personal
Right.
development is part of the entrepreneur journey, but setting up a business with the skills you have, it's much easier. When I was 19 years old, I was selling printer and computer from home.
Right.
I like the sell aspect, but
Right.
I like to help people. So there is this aspect of me. It's I do quite a lot of things. I like to articulate it when I'm talking to people, because it's just, I think it coming naturally because of my own skills back in my own mother tongue language.
Right.
So to
Right.
be able to transfer this in English, because I think part of the personal development also helping me not to be shy when I'm saying this in English.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you're right. I think people oftentimes have when they go on this journey as an entrepreneur, they change so much and their view of the world changes so much that then they sometimes do go off into that self-developed person, and then you're like, well, wait, you got to come do your business over here, and I knew a guy, we worked with a gentleman down in Florida for a number of years who was really a big Tony Robbins fan, and which was totally fine, but you'd have trouble getting, why I'm at a Tony Robbins event, I'm going to go do this, go to this. It's like, man, you've got a business to run. You can't go do all of that all the time. It's great, but the skills that you actually have, like sales skills or technical skills or any of that, those form the heart of any kind of service enterprise for people. And I think, helping people understand that is huge. Great answer. And now this is it. This is the big question. This is where it all comes down. Super important. So if you could have a meal with any living public figure, who would it be? Why would you choose that person? And what meal would you have?
You got me on that. I've got so many people I would like to have, but the one who came into my mind was Michelle Obama. I really like her.
Yeah. Yeah. There you go. Great.
I really like her. She's inspiring me so much. Her story, the way she talks, and I think the way she branded herself, like she was helping her husband. She was smart, clever. She was very smart. She was very nice. The meal I would have with her, I would say I like seafood. So I'm not sure if she's a fan of seafood.
I can't imagine Michelle Obama is as cool as she is and doesn't like seafood. So that seems impossible to me. But you never know. She writes beautifully. She has a wonderful, very clear writing style, and I think that part of their lives is so interesting to me. Politics aside, the story of the Obama family, and then hearing her perspective on it, because we see Barack Obama, he's the president, he's doing president things, and you go, oh, well, okay, let's talk about the woman here. And she's got her story is amazing. I mean, it's very powerful, and she does a lot of good for a lot of people. Whether she likes seafood or not, well, we'll have to get the podcast popular enough that someday we'll be able to ask Michelle that question. So we've got this problem. Marta Samson is going to come over and have dinner with you. Do you like seafood?
Imagine if, oh my gosh, she's on my journal. I would love it. I would love it. And when she came into London, she went to my daughter's secondary school.
Oh, wow.
And then I said to my goodness, how you did not? She said, Mom, you know me. I said, oh my gosh, you gotta be kidding us,
That's funny. Oh, wow. That's great. Well, and it's something that...
Thank you.
Yeah. Well, and it has been a real pleasure for me as I've gotten older. I grew up in Hawaii, and it's a very, Hawaii is a very diverse place. So it was one of those things where when I moved back to the mainland, I had always lived in a place where, there were people everywhere, all kinds of food, all kinds of culture. My friends were from all over the world, and it's been so gratifying to see people, really just coming and becoming part of our public life who represent so many different backgrounds. And then hearing those stories, to me is, I love that stuff. Like, I would rather read a good biography like that than most of the personal. I've done a lot of personal development stuff, but now reading people's biographies and hearing what they've done, what they've accomplished, and really how they grew up. And it's not, I think there's a part of us who we all like a struggle story. Oh, I struggled in this, that, and the other. But to me, it's just the difference, right? Listening to people talking about what their parents cooked in their home, right? Like, I love Brazilian food, love South American food, right? So that's, for me, I always connect with people over food. And so it's one of those things where the fact that we can get exposure to that, and it's changing so rapidly, our ability to meet people, I think it makes us better partners, better parents, better spouses, makes us better business owners. When you really begin to realize that you've got all these different ways to connect with people and serve them, I think that stuff is just really, really huge. And I love the Michelle Obama answer. Again, it's funny. We had a guest a couple months ago, and he says, "Oh, I would really like to have lunch with Donald Trump, and I'd like to have, but I'd like to have it be private." And I thought, I would love to have lunch with Donald Trump as well, just to listen to it for a little while. What's going on?
What's going on?
Yeah, and so, but again, that's the thing, because I think, especially in politics, the Michelle Obama that we know from the news and that we see in a magazine, or even that we read in her book, the experience of speaking to her just one-on-one as a human being is totally different, right? I have a great photo that I've got printed, and it's on the wall in the other room, of Anthony Bourdain and Barack Obama having a beer in a little restaurant, sitting together, and thinking to myself, man, I wish I could have just heard that conversation, right? Because Barack Obama doesn't have to be the president, and Anthony Bourdain doesn't have to be a famous chef. They're just two guys sharing a beer, right? And, just Marta and Michelle having some seafood for dinner, right? What a great conversation that would be. I love it. I absolutely love it. Well, good stuff. Well, awesome. I'm excited. I think, we will actually probably air this episode pretty quickly and get you out there. That would be a lot of fun. And we're so glad that you came on. And again, everybody, this is Marta Samson. She's based in Essex in the UK. Wonderful story. Immigrant from Brazil to the UK, business coach, working on your new website. We'll have that on the show notes when you get it done. And until then, you can find her. She's very, very active on Instagram. You've got a good following there too, at Marta, M-A-R-T-A.
Working harder there.
Yeah. Marta.Samson, Samson, on Instagram, and you can also find her on Facebook. Just search for the name. And her podcast is called The Thrivepreneur. She's further down the road than we are. You've got episode 53 coming up, so that's exciting. Good for you. I'm excited to have people listen to it, and it's really good stuff. So thanks so much for coming on the show.
Thank you. It has been a pleasure. Thank you so much.
All right. Well, have a great day. Thanks for joining us. You can find contact information about our guest in the show notes for this episode. This has been the How I Make Money podcast by Brand Distillers. To learn more, visit branddistillers.com.